This is the U6t unboxing video. U6t was released in the summer of 2021. It was at the time the lowest price universal IEM kind of introduction to our product range. It is a universal version of the A6t, which is our most popular custom IEM. That is kind of feedback from our customers who wanted that sound, the sound of the A6t, but in a universal option, whether it's for comfort or resale or whatever. It's mostly used by kind of personal audiophile folks, although it has become very popular in the live audio space, backup in-ears, folks that are more comfortable with universals, and even in gaming, which is kind of cool. Shout out to our gaming folks. This is it, 64 Audio's U6t. Same kind of packaging design as all of them. The black matte sleeve with the reflective-ish product image, the hero shot, we call it. U6t is kind of in line with our current iteration of products, starting with the U18S, U6t Duo. It's a very subtle color palette, very kind of sleek and understated. This is one product, and Vitaly, our owner, in that video that you may have seen, kind of mentions it. It is his vibe. If you've ever seen him, if you've ever spoken to him, very understated, kind of laid back, not very flashy kind of guy. And that's what these are. And they look great. They are something that catches your attention when you see them being worn by somebody. Very high end and well put together. So that is it. Again, with the exploded wireframe view in the back, which follows a similar. This is something that we started doing with the U18S, where we have that exploded wireframe view where you see, you know, the 5 drivers and then the TIA driver, manifolds, everything. And then if you want to learn more, scan that QR code. It'll take you right to the U6t product page. I think after this year, everyone knows how to use QR code. So here we go. Boom. The sleeve is off. And then that booklet with the magnet. I'm going to do this in all of them. That satisfying little snap. Nice. All right. Let's pop it open. Here it is. Case, custom foam insert. Keeps them really happy and safe during transport. Hang on to the box if you want to send them back in for service. That's always a great way to send them in, just to make sure that nothing happens. The little message from Vitaly, have a read. He, as I always like to make sure people know, is he is the final ear on all of this. He's involved in designing the sound to a certain degree. Obviously, the R&D team is big and they are always working on stuff, but he is the final stamp of approval. So, U6t, awesome, subtle, dark gray and black with the silver logo. I love how these look. These are maybe my second favorite looking in-ear monitor that we make, but we'll get to those. We'll start with the case. Now, I find it easiest to take the lid off and then pull this out by spinning it, because it's in there pretty tight. With the U6t, the Duo, and the, it might be all of them, we'll see. We're gonna unbox them all, so I'm assuming it's all of them. You get all of this stuff. So you have the tip holder, which is this kind of webbed looking circular design. You notice we are offering 3 different types of tips. The true fidelity, that's kind of how we coined that. Foam tip, the wide bore, wide nozzle, however you like to put it, silicone tip, and then the spin fit silicone tips, which are a very popular tip in that space. And you kind of notice that they kind of have a little bit of give to them. They kind of spin. Go into more detail with those a little bit later. You have the famous sticker. Do with that what you please. And actually here, you kind of see the logo on there. It's nicely, subtly stamped into that case, our premium leather case. I believe it's bonded leather, but it's great. It's very neatly made. Very, very nice. And then in this little baggie, you get the little, everything's a little baggy, little accessories. You have your shirt clip, your cleaning tool, and the Apex module holder. This is probably the most important thing in that little bag, your Apex module holder. That's something that you'll notice on a lot of our products, except for Duo, Forte, and Trio, is the Apex technology is built into a module. So it allows you to play around with the amount of isolation you get. It allows you to play around with how open they feel. It also allows you to change the sound signature. You could even say you get 3 different sound signatures with each in-ear monitor. You know, even though it does play the biggest role in the low frequencies, so much of how we experience sound in in-ear monitors specifically is psychoacoustic. That change in low frequencies gives an entirely different picture in the mids and the highs a lot of times. So that is something you'll notice is a pretty massive change in sound signature. So you get the M15 modules installed in the in-ears with the U6t. You have the M20 modules, which are a step up in the isolation, step up in the low frequencies. Some would say darkens them up a little bit, brings up the sub bass. But then you have a step below, which is the MX module. That is kind of the most open. You know, personally, I like the MX modules for music that doesn't have a ton of sub bass information in it already. So I like using the MX modules in music that doesn't have a ton of sub bass information in it in the recording. That way I'm not losing any of that info. If I'm listening to a jazz piece, you know, where it's kind of a very roomy recording, or I'm listening to an orchestra, classical stuff, you're not getting a ton of stuff in the kind of sub 60 hertz range unless it's like a big organ piece. So it gives you that most realistic sound stage, really widens everything up. That's probably the widest sound stage. But the way they're tuned, the way that we kind of, the target frequency response with the universals is with the M15 modules. That's kind of how we ship them. That's how we want folks to crack them open and give that first listen. And then you play around with it and see what you like better. Cleaning tool, say this, can't say it enough. Best way to keep your in-ears working for years and years. Some folks still use their custom in-ears from us from a decade ago. Clean your in-ears after every use. This has a little pick at the end if there's any sort of wax buildup on the mesh, and then little brushes right there. So every use, clean them after every use. It'll get the most life out of your in-ears. And then the shirt clip. This is used mostly in the kind of live performance space because it keeps the cable on you, keeps it from being ripped off your head, and also gives you a little bit of give if you run it down the back of your shirt. For personal audio, for audiophile setting, I like to use it to reduce microphonics, and I'll kind of show you a bit of why that is once I pull them out and start putting them on and giving them a listen. But there you go, shirt clip. Those are all the little accessories. Case. I don't know if I'm laying this out neatly for all the OCD folks. So the meat and potatoes here. Let's start pulling these out. So the cable is wrapped up in this little guy with our slogan on it. You gotta work everything out of this case. Everything is a custom foam insert, so keeps it very protected, but it is also in there pretty snug. So the cable is wrapped up around this guy. It's very nice. Good job, R&D. Oh, and it, yeah, it's nice how it actually secures in there. I don't know if you see that, but the cable secures in there, and then you wrap it. Hold on to this thing, it's pretty cool. Boom. Set that over here. We should get like grid lines so I know that everything's like perfect. The new cable, not gonna sit on this topic too long. It's a new cable, it's great. We don't do new cables. I mean, it does seem like we've done new cables a lot. We don't do new cables a lot in the kind of grand scheme of this industry. It takes us a while to find something we really like. With Neo, we introduced a new cable. With U18S, we introduced a new cable. And then with U6t, when that was the next model after the U18S, we introduced a new cable. And that was exclusively with the U6t. Now we have brought that cable over to Duo. We're starting to ship that cable with Neo. And hopefully we will be able to offer it as a standalone product soon. But you see the branded bifurcation, which is this nice kind of solid, I believe this is aluminum. And then your branded 3.5 millimeter jack, which this is what it comes with standard. Now I know a lot of folks in the audiophile space are using a 2.5 millimeter balanced or a 4.4 Pentagon. Currently we don't offer that in this cable. But maybe in the future when we offer it as a standalone product, we will. But currently the U6t ships like this with the 3.5 millimeter jack. And the cable is really soft and supple. It's a silver plated copper, extremely low resistance. And that's kind of one of the big specs you should be looking for. There's a lot of questions out there about cables. One thing that is something that is very, very useful to look at when you're looking at cables is how resistive is it? Is it going to change your frequency response? Is it going to reduce sensitivity? Luckily, with all of our products, almost all of them except for Forte and U18T, they have what we call LID, linear impedance design. Linear impedance design. It ensures that a change in impedance won't result in a change in the target frequency response. So if you plug into something like, a Dragonfly, which is a great low resistance output stage of the headphone amp, or if you plug into the headphone amp of your laptop or your phone, which has a little bit of a higher impedance at the headphone stage, it won't change your frequency response. And if you use a cable that's a higher resistive cable, it won't change your frequency response. We wanted this cable, really low resistance, sounds great, low microphonics, feels good, looks good. All right, now to the U6t. With our models that have an Apex module, I like to kind of free up the cable a little bit, and then I pull the in-ears out with the module itself. So you kind of wiggle it out, and then the module, you kind of put your fingernails under there, and it helps you pull the in-ear out. So same with this side. Here we go. Use the Apex module to kind of wiggle U6t out, and it is out. It is free. Very taut, very secure, and I don't know if I mentioned this already, but if you're gonna be sending them back, do it in the package. It gives a really great way of sending them back securely for service or anything like that. So there you go, anodized shell, anodized aluminum shell, milled out of a solid block of aluminum, as with all of our universal shells. It is a black anodized aluminum faceplate with our kind of raised 64 audio kind of decal logo. And they come, as I mentioned earlier, standard with the M15 modules. That is kind of our target frequency response for the U6t. Yeah, they look great, super understated. That has been us for the last year or so in product design. And we've gone all over the place. If you've kept up with 64 Audio's design, we have trends, we have seasons, and this season we are very low-key, very understated, very clean, and I really love it. Like I said, this is probably my second favorite looking IEM we make. But here we go. And I'll show you guys kind of what I do. I've been doing this in these videos, is I like to use the shirt clip to help with microphonics. I'll show you how to do that. Although the wide bore nozzle silicone tips give you the most accurate response, and then the true fidelity Foam tips are very, very close to that. I prefer the spin fit tips just because they're easy to slide in. They're comfortable. I think they sit in my ear very just seamlessly. And they are very, very accurate and just, I would say slightly adds a bit of top end. All right, here we go. So we put the U6t in. That's how they look on your head. And what I do is secure the shirt clip to give a little bit of slack here, because doing that actually kind of decouples the cable from itself. So touching the cable down here, you don't get the microphonics up here from the cable. Now, if I do this and it's kind of all, together, I can feel and hear, even though the microphonics on this cable are great, I can barely hear it, but it's still there. I like to raise it, give myself a little bit of slack, helps me move my head back and forth. And yeah, we listen to the Dragonfly. I'm gonna have a little bit of a listen. You guys won't hear what I'm listening to, but I'll have a listen. For anybody who's familiar with our product lineup, in the universal space, the U12t is super popular and kind of very well known. It is that extremely accurate yet fun and musical model that gives, at least in the audiophile space, that really great target of clarity and detail along with realism, musicality, and realistic but fun bass. U6t is very close to that. We kind of call it the little brother to the U12t. That's what we're going for with it. Same with the A6t to the A12t. It's a very balanced and smooth sounding in-ear monitor. It's not an extremely kind of analytical masterpiece. It is more geared towards someone who is wanting an audiophile product that you can listen to daily and not be kind of constantly just hyper focused on every little detail. But then again, the TIA driver still gives you that awesome clarity, that super high extension, great detail without going too far. Just some of the specs, rattle them off really quick. Obviously has TIA apex lid, 6 drivers. You have the TIA high frequency driver, you have a single high mid balanced armature driver, dual 2 low mid drivers and 2 low drivers. 108 decibels sensitivity per milliwatt, measured with a milliwatt, and a 10 ohm impedance. So it's kind of nominal since it has that linear impedance. And it's a 4-way crossover. So that is kind of in step with most of our models, other than a handful. It's that kind of classic 4-way design that we've been using for a while. And the isolation just depends on which module you use. So yeah, there you go. That is U6t. Go out and get one. They are all over the world at a retailer if you're international, or if you're domestic, some of our domestic retailers and our website. But go get one, check it out for yourself. I think you'll love it. I think a lot of people do love it. You'll probably love it too. Check it out.